Like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this will be in your bed tonight. What did you find out about your friend's sex life that actually shocked you? Years ago, my insecure virgin friend bragged to us about finally losing his virginity to the hottest chick. We didn't believe him because he always made up stories about this which were broken open every single time. He was obsessed with being a virgin at the age of 24 and his number one goal was to lose it. Needless to say, he wasn't in a healthy state of mind and we tried our best to boost his confidence and convince him that it didn't matter. But to little effect. He said that, this time, he'd prove it to us so we know he wasn't lying. Well, one night we're at the pub and he brings her over. Really gorgeous girl. We gently begin to pry into the details of their sex life. She is very open about it and says she had been with my friend for 2 months, and that he's spent the night with her dozens of times. Afterwards, some of us thought it was a conspiracy where he paid the girl to lie. We never saw them kiss or anything that night. Eventually, we came to accept it and felt happy for our friend, because looks like he finally achieved what he so desperately wanted. We never saw the girl again, though this isn't abnormal because we usually don't bring our GFS around to hang out. A few months later I saw the same girl on the train. I asked how her boyfriend was doing and she said he's doing good and left for the Air Force. My virgin friend was still in town, obviously. So I asked, well, what about, virgin friend? Did you lie to us that night? She said that no. He has been over to their house many times for sex, except the sex took place exclusively between her and her Air Force BF while my virgin friend watched. She had a kink for sexually humiliating guys and I guess my virgin friend thought it was better than nothing. Then it dawned on me that the wording she used that night was deliberately evasive, though technically not lying. I never told anyone and I never confronted him. A few months later they broke up and my virgin friend, years later, Stodar Learnagel brings up stories about how he used to hit that, but I just play along and keep his secret. That was a wild ride. Not for the virgin friend. In high school a classmate of mine was bragging one day about losing his virginity to a lady in our community who happened to be the mother to a girl a grade above us. We all called bullshit and asked why he'd make something like that up cause not only is it not believable, it just wasn't even a funny lie. Fast forward 6 months and fellow classmate has to leave class on multiple occasions to go to court. Older lady was bragging to a co-worker about sleeping with said classmate and now older lady is a sex offender. I ducked your mom might be funny, but I ducked your kid is just downright illegal in it. Can you imagine if I ducked your kid jokes were as common as I ducked your mom jokes? That'd be wild. Friend wouldn't let me use his computer 20 years ago. He said he had things on there that would change how I thought about him. I stowed the thought aside. 12 years or so later, married with a young daughter, they threw his ass in prison for having some insanely large amount of child porn on his computer. He was part of some huge child porn ring. Evidently really young girls. Guess he wasn't kidding. Edit. Yay, thank you for my first gold. Of course. A terrible pun about a terrible thing. Unfortunately. Found out half of my friend group were regularly having foursomes together and rudely not inviting the rest of us. Did they end up extending that invite? Listen, I'm not packing no Louisville Slugger down there or anything, but I can make a mean to turtle casserole I could bring to the festivities. A friend of mine thinks of me while having sex so they can keep going for much longer. How does that make you feel? Weird? Flattered? Indifferent? Mostly weird. I mean, we're both straight men. Go figure. My friend had anal sex with her boyfriend for 5 years before having vaginal sex. She was too scared she would get pregnant. I have nothing against anal sex but it totally shocked the hell out of me. Ah yes, the poop hole loophole. Suuru duck me in the ass cause I love Jesus. Edit. My top comment of all time is about the poop hole loophole. That when house sitting for us he and his wife ducked in every room of our house and also on my motorcycle. Edit. Since you all want details, I found out a few months later when the bastard told me. His wife also mentioned it. The bike was a custom Harley with a wide, low seat. I'm pretty sure they bumped uglies on top while it was on the kickstand. I had a hard time enjoying the bike after that. I ended up selling it to our local city councilman. I didn't disclose the ducking. Someone's gotta do it. Ouch. My best friend in college got in a pretty kinky sexual relationship with this dude for a while. They do BDSM type stuff, none of which is particularly shocking to me, but I remember visiting her apartment and seeing a spoon out randomly in her room and asked why it was there. She said she loved the taste of his cum so much he'd jerk off onto the spoon and feed it to her while she was tied up. I didn't think she'd ever really shock me, but that one took the cake. Wait until they find out you can come directly into a person's mouth. Doing it onto a spoon seems inconvenient. Edit. Guys, it was a joke. I know they're most likely aware of the ability to put a penis into a mouth. Cum spoons and poop knives. What a time to be alive. A couple that I was friends with was into necrophilia play. He would make his wife take an ice cold shower, quickly dry off, and then she'd just lay there while he ducked her cold unmoving body, and they really liked it. With these kind of stories I always wonder how into it the partner really is, or if they just decided they love the other person enough to go eat it and are now pretending to enjoy the same thing. I mean, it can't have come up during dating, can it? I want to duck a dead body. Check please. Best friend in HS was casually seeing this dude who was a senior our sophomore year. Well, he graduated and dumped her. Next year his brother started HS. She proceeded to date him. Took both of their virginities. Achievement unlocked. Eskimo brothers. Edit. Yes. Tunnel buddies. EBDB. I get it. Blood bond bonus. That she had elaborate pirate roleplay sex. We were housemates in college and I heard way more than I bargained for. Also, the guy she had elaborate pirate roleplay sex with smelled bad and wore those shoes with the separate toes. I fixed that for you. Well, I found out he likes hosting gangbangs. He invited me to one. 2. Update. I went. I mustn't talk about it. From what I hear, gangbangs are a bunch of dudes beside each other jerking off, except you get to slide in for 2 seconds. Sounds pretty gay to me. My roommate broke his bed one day after coming home with his girlfriend. Pretty ordinary so far. That happens, although already quite funny. Then I remembered that I helped him build his bed up when we moved in. Dude's bed has 2 slatted frames. How the hell did they break that? Tell him to stop using chainsaws during sex. Obviously. A ye-olde chainsaw massacre roleplay my parents warned me about. My best friend never masturbated until I told him the experiences of the luxury. Then he actually did it and he questioned his life. I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing if you've never done it. This comment reminds me of that scene in The Dictator where Aladdin learns how to masturbate. He posts himself and his girlfriend to Pornhub and INSFW. Are they popular? Like, if someone said the channel, would people be like, oh damn? Wouldn't you like to know whether boy? My wife had a female friend in high school that saved all the used condoms in a brown paper bag under her bed, and from what I heard, there were a lot of them. Can't that shit mold or go rotten? You. Anyone who's read the Cumbox story is well aware that yes it can. Edit. For those asking. No, I don't mean coconut, I mean box. A former friend of mine used to wipe her husband's butt after he'd been to the bathroom. Initially she'd do his washing and he'd leave stains on his underwear. For her? I'm not sure. And that progressed to some humiliation and her checking him when he got home from work every day. She told me this when we were outside having a cigarette and I then had to sit across from them both for the longest game of Monopoly. If you play by the actual rules, Monopoly isn't as long of a game. No money for free parking and every street goes up for auction if the roller doesn't want to buy it. Edit. A good strategy is to buy all the house and not upgrade to hotels. When you upgrade to hotels, the houses go back into play for others to buy. If you can get all the houses, you have yourself a housing monopoly, my friend. Double edit. I have never played by the actual rules. I try not to play Monopoly, Risk, or Axis and Allies because boredom sets in after hour 2. Now, Settlers of Catan is another story. I used to frequent Craigslist back before they banned anything even resembling a dating or hookup ad. I once placed an ad and got a response from a guy on my team at work asking if I wanted to duck his wife. As in bluntly asking, hey buddy, you wanna duck my wife? Your email address is stripped off when using their built-in email system, but the name on your email account comes through. The response was in this guy's name, which is unique. and he included a picture of his wife who I have met. The pic didn't show her face, but she has some visible tattoos, so there is zero doubt it was her. So how was she? I never responded to the email or ever mentioned it to anyone, though I did think it would have been funny. You actually get a surprising number of cuckold responses to ads, which isn't my thing, and the guy usually wants to watch. After several years I found out that one of my female friends wore a strap-on and ducked her husband up the butt almost every time they had sex. I don't remember how the topic even came up, but apparently that was just how he liked it and she was happy to oblige. He said that when he was 20 he did try it with another man but didn't really find any enjoyment in it because he likes playing with tits while getting plowed, so he only likes it when it's coming from a woman wearing a strap-on. Commonly referred to as pegging. Does not equal homosexuality though. Might just means he likes to be dominated from time to time. I have been with chicks that are into it. Just because you like it in the ass, where the male spot is, should not make you gay. That he was having sex with my fiancé. Was hanging out with my boyfriend and our friends, who are also a couple. We were having breakfast smoothies. They casually mentioned that they're going to an orgy in Brooklyn on Saturday and it's a really progressive orgy because all men need to be invited by a woman. I'm like, wow, that's a really interesting system. Internally I'm like, you guys go to orgies? Edit. I just wanna say that you guys are losing it over the word progressive since apparently that's how all orgies are. This was like 6 months ago. I'm not quoting her adjective for adjective. That was just my takeaway about that rule she described to us. I've never been to a sex club, alright. It's a really progressive orgy because all men need to be invited by a woman. I'm surprised it's labeled progressive. It seems that the main problem with orgies is that there are way more men than women who want to go to one. So it makes sense that there would be some sort of system to make the gender ratios come out somewhat evenly. The swingers club that I'm thinking about attending has a single men must be accompanied by a couple rule. One night a week and certain special events they're allowed, but their cover is $40. The couples are $40, single women are $5. There is a huge gender ratio issue. My best friend uses blowjobs as bribery to an insane degree. I mean, I'm not above a little BJ bribery myself, but she uses it on her husband like several times a day. Wants coffee, but doesn't want to make it. BJ. Doesn't want to clean the dishes. BJ. It's her turn to walk the dogs. BJ. It's kind of hilarious. She's super lazy, but prefers giving him head to doing most chores and apparently it works for him too. She also doesn't want sex as often as he does, so she finds this keeps him happy and she doesn't feel the need to put out as much, all of which I find hilarious. Does she know how much easier it is to just make coffee instead of giving a blowjob? On the bright side, she must have that shit down to a quick science by now. Honestly, it sounds like she just likes giving head. Making coffee is for sure much easier. That they eat ass despite being a germaphobe. Ding. I have a galpal who is mega OCD, hyper clean and otherworldly germophobic, and she is way into some balloon knot bingo. In the battle of Kink v. Bacteria, Kink is the victor. Always. WTF is balloon knot bingo. My sister-in-law told me what she apparently calls my brother in there, a private time. Big Daddy Roo. Is your brother Scooby-Doo? Rah. He slept with a clown. Clown face. You want to see a magic trick? I can make this penis disappear. How can you tell you're having sex with a clown? When the condom falls off, you pull it out and there's 30 more used condoms attached to it. Edit. RIP my inbox post a joke you heard somewhere once that gains relevance and suddenly you have a new top comment. Well, I just found out my girlfriend's a lesbian, so that's kinda ducking with me. Edit. Thank you all for the support and the laughs. It sucks. We've been together for a long time. Built a bit of a life together. Been through thick and thin. She claims it's just a mistake, but she's emotionally and physically involved with another woman, and has been cheating on me as well as financially supporting the homewrecker with money we discussed saving for a wedding. I hope she finds what she's looking for, because it's not gonna be with me anymore. I've given all that I could. Now you just need to go get a pet monkey, Mr. Geller. This guy looked and acted like your typical alpha male but was actually a virgin. I think because he was overly confident to the point of being a douchebag that turned women away. Johnny Bravo. 911, yep, there's a beautiful man in my house. Oh wait, never mind. That's just me. One friend had sex with another friend. Because of her, people started calling him Anaconda Dong. Because his dong's CGI has aged surprisingly well and it once regurgitated Jon Voight. When he pulls it out, Ice Cube says, "Oh hell no." In spite of his wife being comfortable with having an open relationship, he proceeded to cheat on her multiple times before we all found out. Edit. Should clarify he refused to have an open relationship. People who cheat on their SOS are often very jealous and paranoid of their so cheating on them. It's pretty hypocritical obviously, but some people are just shitty. My sister's involvement. Wait until you find about your mom's. High five. My friend was US Army Special Forces Green Beret and would go on regular shadow ducking dates. He would find people online, mostly on Craigslist. This was in the 2012, and set up random anonymous sex liaisons with people he had never met, spoken with or had even seen. He would show up to an unlocked apartment or house, duck in the dark without ever seeing or speaking and bail. One day we were playing Xbox. He got an email. Said don't unpause it. I gotta go duck real quick. He left. Did the deed and brought a 6-pack back all within an hour. Sat down and kept playing. This happened a few different times and I think about it often. Sounds like your friend was meeting up with guys not girls. I have a friend that's a massive player. I'd not be shocked if he said he slept with more than 100 women. Turns out he's thinking of switching teams. With me apparently. Do it you won't. He's a coward. One friend was all into gangbangs and orgies. Never took her as the type. Where the hell are all these gangbangs and orgies happening? Is there a sub-IDK about? A friend of mine came out as asexual. I had never met anyone who was asexual, so I asked a lot of questions, within his comfort level, about what that meant and what it's like to be in a relationship. He said he just doesn't have a sex drive, doesn't find anything sexual, doesn't want to be sexual, and is otherwise completely indifferent to sex. He said even though he's had sex, he's felt this way his whole life. He's been with his girlfriend for over 5 years. She is not asexual. She sleeps with other people. He's totally fine with it. He's not interested in progressing the relationship. She's cool with it for now. His biggest thing is that he's scared of how his family would react if they found out, and that they would assume he was just suppressing homosexuality. Turns out even people with no sexuality are still afraid of what others will think of them. My girlfriend in HS was friends with this girl who was super quiet and pretty nerdy, totally innocent in every sense of the word. When she was like 12 or so, her mom got remarried to this dude who had a son around her age. Well, at around 16 or so, my HS girlfriend finally got stone drunk with me one night and told me that this girl didn't want to lose her virginity, so her and her stepbrother had been doing anal regularly for months. All I remember was being like, the duck, and then going home and masturbating furiously to the idea of it. My friend only do anal because she's saving her virginity for her husband. She has about 5 BF up to this point. People who have been ducked in the ass are not virgins. Change my mind. Stipulating for a moment that a girl who only does anal is still a virgin. Does a guy who does a girl in the butt lose his virginity? Is it possible for only one of them to lose it? That she lets a girlfriend sleep with other people but it's not an open relationship both ways. I guess if that was a straight relationship it'd be like a hot wife cuckold setup. Her girlfriend's manipulative and she's often upset. Not surprisingly. Well, this doesn't sound abusive at all. Yep, just your standard, run-of-the-mill, non-abusive, healthy relationship. Nothing to see here. Oh boy, this is a fun one. So my friend decides to tell our whole group that his now ex-girlfriend asked him what his favorite game was. He said Rainbow Six Siege. She looked it up and asked him who his favorite characters were. He said Mutant Kavira. She asked him for $100. He obliged. Some time later she invites him to her house. He goes there and all the lights are out. The whole house is empty. Suddenly, something jumps from out of nowhere and tackles him to the ground. He looks up to see his girlfriend, in full Kavira cosplay, holding a butter knife to his neck, demanding to know where his friends are. She then motions his side to a chair nearby that has a mute costume and a pack of condoms. keeper. Now ex-girlfriend. He was into swords and getting cut and stuff. It all started on the day of his circumcision. That a friend has been married for 15 years and they've never actually had sex. Not one time. They've tried but not been successful. From the info I've gotten, I think he's not hard enough. He won't see a doctor. They're both virgins. It's all so sad. Does he eat a raw potato when he's in the mood perchance? Two of my friends used to date and, due to martinis and cider, I now know exactly how big he is and how long she can hold her breath. A great adventure is waiting for you ahead. Hurry onward, Lemmywinks. Went over to a staunchly conservative Christian friend's house for a party. During the festivities he had disappeared, so I went to look for him to take my leave. Found him in his room with his best friend, watching gay porn. My exact words at that moment were, "Well, that's certainly something I thought I'd never see in all my life." My so's boss's husband would call up various guys, sometimes police officer friends, etc., to duck his wife at her work while she left the phone on speaker so he could hear. That's all he wanted, was to hear her moans, I guess. It was interesting realizing this otherwise seemingly normal husband and wife with children had this phone cuckold fetish. Well, the husband at least. I needed her laptop because mine wasn't working. Never thought she, the most innocent girl I've ever known, would be into gunplay and niffer play. I'm hiding all my knives and my swabby. And this is my most upvoted comment. Great. I married at 19 and moves across the country. My best friend at the time of my wedding was still a virgin. 2 years later, during conversation on the phone, she tells me she took part in a sex train during a party and ended up ducking my married brother too. I don't judge her, but it did shock me because she was always very reserved through high school. A friend co-worker was caught with BDMS kiddie porn. I did my first hit of acid with him. Makes me wonder if we ever truly know someone. Back in 2014 I found out the group I was hanging with were into convincing teenagers from Instagram to meet up and then drugging and raping them. I knew they were chauvinist jerks, but that was a shock. One of my former best friends and his fiancée had been together for nearly 5 years and due to be married in a few months when this happened. They were very open about their sex life, saying it was awesome and that they had their fun nearly every night. A few months before the wedding she confided in me that they had actually never had sex before because he was scared. Apparently he had her act like they were having daily sex to make it seem like everything was normal. First couple years they tried and didn't get anywhere with sex. After that he just lost interest in her. Apparently the mental abuse in the relationship was pretty high too, which he completely hid from everyone to save his ass. This story is why this best friend is now a former best friend. I knew this guy, lived with a friend of mine. Then one day I saw him on the local news's version of To Catch a Predator. I think he got some time and might have been deported after that. That was quite a surprise. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more interviews.